Once just a small, unassuming fishing village, invisible to the outside world, it wasn't until the 1950s when Puerto Vallarta began to transform into the vacation melting pot that now beckons the world over. A century prior, in 1851, this stunning West Coast city, nestled in the Sierra Madre Mountains, was founded as Las Peñas. Rechristened as Puerto Vallarta in 1918, it is the second largest city in the state of Jalisco. The Aztlan people inhabited this region as far back as 580 BC. Later a part of the Kingdom of Jalisco, modern-day Puerto Vallarta was conquered in 1524 by Spanish conquistadors following their war against the Aztec Empire. At this time, the Caxcan were the native people of the region, and upon colonization, they were enslaved by the Spanish. Despite valiant efforts by the Caxcan people, namely the Mexican Rebellion and War, sadly, through the centuries, much of their civilization has been lost. What remains today is mostly told through verbal stories passed down through the generations. Now, almost half a millennium later, the most prominent indigenous culture in Puerto Vallarta are the Huichol or Wixárika people. Nearly 80% of residents work in the tourism and hospitality industries. Due to the massive amount of people who relocate here to pursue these jobs, population growth has caused the city to experience tremendous pains. While the Mexican government has pumped a ton of money into Puerto Vallarta to make it a vacationer's paradise, not surprisingly, far too many of the people, the lifeblood of this beautiful and culturally rich city, have been forgotten. But it's not all bad. Once an extremely conservative city, Puerto Vallarta has evolved into a very LGBTQIA+ friendly destination, leading to some calling it the San Francisco of Mexico. Cited as being Latin America's #1 gay beach destination, Puerto Vallarta not only hosts pride celebrations, but the Zona Romantica neighborhood hosts numerous LGBTQIA+ resorts, clubs, beaches, businesses, and more. It's this welcoming mentality for all humans, regardless of orientation, ethnicity, nationality, or religion, as well as the gorgeous terrain, weather, historical sites, year-round festivals, delicious cuisine, music, art, and more that give Puerto Vallarta its globally renowned allure, and I'm excited to see a small part of that today. If you've seen my last 2 episodes chronicling my trip to the Mexican Riviera, and if you haven't, I've linked the playlist above, you'll know that our chariot to Puerto Vallarta was the Discovery Princess. The ship itinerary had an arrival of 8 a.m. with a disembarkation time of 5 p.m. Upon coming up on deck to take the establishing shots for this video, I was awed by how hugged I felt. The massive city and surrounding mountains gave the sense of giant arms pulling our ship into a warm embrace. Good Lord, was it warm! Not so much the temperature, but it was the humidity, which, as a native New Yorker, I should be used to, but 3 years living in Vegas, the dry air has ruined me. Exiting the ship itself was smooth. And another quick historical tidbit, this dock that serves as the cruise port is actually where the first wharf was built, the Salado Wharf, which following its opening made Puerto Vallarta Jalisco's first harbor town. That's cool, but now, the Puerto Vallarta cruise port itself feels like a duty-free mall, designed like a labyrinth in order to keep travelers walking in circles. Circles lined with dozens of stores, of course. But the money gouging didn't end when we found the actual exit. Once outside, we came to learn that Ubers and Lyfts are not allowed to pick you up from the terminal. They can drop you off here, but pickups are reserved for taxis. The first few drivers we spoke to quoted us at $15 USD per person for the 5.7 kilometer or 3.5 mile-ish 15-minute drive to our first destination. But within seconds, and this is definitely part of the well-rehearsed hustle, another driver cut through and gave us a flat rate of $15 USD for the 2 of us. So off we went. And on the ride, our driver gave us his best pitch.
And then what we charge for the day is we charge $50 per person for the whole day. And we take you to all the places, so that's another option that you guys can do.
But we didn't take him up on it because we had our plan for the day, and in this moment I was more enthralled by how familiar downtown Puerto Vallarta felt. The familiarity began with seeing the retail establishments that I frequent back in the States, and continue with the transportation infrastructure, food chains, and overall bustling urban landscape. It's not for me to judge the merits of this. Just said familiarity ushered in a sense of being the most at home I've felt this entire trip. First stop, oh my God, I am so tempted to reach out and touch someone. Y'all out there in the 35, don't cancel me. Google it.
I wonder what their menu looks like.
Oh no, 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 no. The first point of interest today is El Malecón. First built in 1935 with an expansion completed in 1952, El Malecón is a 12-block, approximately 1 mile long esplanade spanning from Puerto Vallarta's Central neighborhood, crossing over the Cuale River and into the aforementioned Zona Romantica neighborhood. But it was almost all lost. In 2002, Hurricane Kenya destroyed the esplanade, but after 9 years of repairs, El Malecón was back and wowing all who gaze upon the craftsmanship, partake the local restaurants that flank it, and lose themselves in the stunning Pacific views. Aside from jet skiing later today, Isla Cuale is the destination within Puerto Vallarta I've most been looking forward to visiting. That has to do with wanting to see, experience, even a little of the local life here in Mexico. A narrow island on the Rio Cuale towards the southern tip of the city, Isla Cuale borders both the Central and Zona Romantica neighborhoods. In this shaded area, you'll find local shops, food, gardens, playgrounds, and cultural centers. But best of all, gatos.
She's like, I'm not hungry, I need affection.
Peeling back the veil of the shiny tourism facade and experiencing the real world is always a goal of mine when visiting somewhere new. Arriving as early as we did to Isla Cuale meant that those humans who call the island home had not yet disappeared into plain sight. Helping the homeless is a cause I'm passionate about back home. I volunteer weekly with homeless and at-risk youth, so seeing the unhoused is devastating, regardless of location or path in life that brought these humans here. My point is that while I was making friends with the feline inhabitants, a homeless person was mere feet away, squatting down and, in plain words, taking a I was so enthralled trying to make this cat love me that I didn't realize. I knew the person was near, but I didn't see what was happening. Once my friend told me, I felt like one of those people who just tune out that which exists in plain sight. But I want to be clear that while we remained alert, something that we do regardless of whether we're in Mexico or in the United States, and whether or not the humans around us are in houses or among the 1%, we never felt in danger. Homelessness does not automatically equate to unsafe, and my heart goes out to this person and all in similar situations. I am bummed that we arrived so early to Isla Cuale, as the merchants were just opening shop. I had planned to do my magnet and souvenir shopping here, but it just didn't pan out that way. We opted to circle back to the central neighborhoods by cutting across this very tall, steep, and step-intensive bridge that connects the middle of Isla Cuale back to the real world.
This is the house I want. That's the house I can afford. That was easy enough.
Soon we came around to Parroquia de Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe, or Iglesias de Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe, or just, for people who probably shouldn't be trying to pronounce words in languages he cannot speak, the Church of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Our Lady of Guadalupe is the patroness saint of Mexico. Legend tells of an indigenous man, Juan Diego, who in the winter of 1531 encountered La Virgen de Guadalupe. She instructed him to build a casita on the hill. Diego told the local bishop, who asked for proof. Guadalupe appeared to him again, asking him to gather flowers, which was a difficult task, being that she asked this in the middle of winter. But Diego found an array of Castilian roses, which he presented to the bishop. These roses fell to the ground, forming the image of La Virgen de Guadalupe. Well, that made him a believer as well. Following this, Juan Diego became a Catholic missionary across Mexico, earning him the name of the Messenger of Hope. Centuries later, in 1901, on this site, a chapel dedicated to Lady Guadalupe was erected. Torn down, rebuilt, halted due to war, and mostly being completed by 1955, the original chapel's foundations became the building blocks for the city's crown-shaped symbol of faith, sanctuary, celebration, and female liberation. As Our Lady of Guadalupe is closely associated by cultures across Latin America with feminist theology, maternity, empowerment, social justice, religious justice, equality, and peace. While I wasn't able to get all that much footage of the interior due to the fact that we walked in at the start of a funeral, and it's something that I didn't even notice. Then I turned around and pallbearers nearly dropped the casket on my feet, and then we quietly made a discreet exit. From here, we crossed down the busy street to Plaza de Armas, where we took a slight breather from the scorching sun as we ordered an Uber to take us to our next destination. Off the main avenue, down a dirt street, we came to Harbor 171 Oceanfront Residences, which is not where we were going. Damn, girl! How you doing? We weren't going to 717, but the outside was the meeting point for Puerto Vallarta tours by Johan and Sandra. It was through this company that I booked my solo 1-hour jet ski / wave runner excursion. But we were very early, so we strolled down the alleyway to the beach.
Sega.
The beach by El Malecón was too rocky and choppy to get in the water, and while this part of the beach was still fairly rocky, it wasn't too bad, and we were able to kind of get in the water. But now I started to worry about the jet skiing, which was the activity I was most excited for in this whole damn vacation. See, it costs $125 USD for the full hour, but you put down a $25 deposit for the reservation, and then you pay the balance on site. The site and review said that I could pay with cards on site, but when looking at it again, the fine print said cash, which I didn't have $100 in cash to pay off the balance, and there was no representative in sight from the company, so I had to figure this out. But we also needed to eat. Using Google Maps, my friend Jen found a local off the main road birria spot, so we took the 15-minute walk to Birria El Tío Tono. Despite the language barrier, we ordered our food and Mexican Coke, which is vastly superior to Coke in the US. And, well, I'll let me in the moment do the talking here.
I mean, in the States we call this a hole in the wall, but it's a real place. It's not this touristy, bougie, done-up, Americanized eatery. It's real, and that's what I appreciate most about it. I ordered quesadilla, which is huge, and I'm excited to try it. So I'm going to go for the green sauce, and I put the green sauce on there because it wouldn't be a real vacation if I didn't have to poop my brains out when I go jet skiing. So let me try this. Ooh, it's nice and warm. Holy crap. Damn, that's good. Oh my God. This is about $80 for one Mexican pesos, so that's what, $4 USD, give or take, 3 something. That's a deal and a steal. This is perfect. This is what I wanted, to be in a restaurant that's local, that's real, that's part of the actual culture of the city, and not just touristy places. This is a good meal. I highly recommend it. Birria El Tío Tano. Good? Very good.
As I enjoyed my second Mexican Coke, the saga of the jet skiing balance played out. Long story without footage short, using Hotspot, I got a chat rep on the tour site. She said I had to pay in cash, and since it was less than 24 hours before the scheduled time, I couldn't change the reservation to a half hour, which I did have enough cash on me to pay that balance. So, since I only need an additional $40, I thought about contacting my bank and trying to take money out of an ATM with my debit card, then realized I left my debit card on the ship. Lesson learned, take that debit card with you. Then the rep gave me a link to pay the balance on their site. I tried, like 10 times. Each time it was rejected. Why? I had to pay with the same card I used for the deposit, which, you guessed it, was my debit, and this was the one damn time my cell didn't remember my debit. So I went back to the meeting point. I threatened this chicken.
Good luck, it's Thanksgiving.
And just as I was about to give up and eat the deposit, my friend was like, let's just go to the beach, offer them whatever cash you got. If they're smart, they'll take it, even if you only ride for half the time. So we did exactly that, and she was right. Now, I can't be exactly sure that the guys we met on the beach were from the same company I reserved the Wave Runner on, but I'm mostly certain that they were. Now, they didn't accept the $60 USD I had on me. Rather, they said that a coworker was on his way with a credit card reader, and in the meantime, I could take my hour out on the water. Like I said in the episode on Mazatlan, I love how chill Mexico's approach to activities is. Today, I just hopped on the Wave Runner. No training videos, no guided tutorials, no waivers, just a be careful. And I was off at full 70-mile-per-hour speed. Little did I know that I was off at the exact perfect time.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
The first time I ever jet skied was back in 2014 in Key West, and I was surprised by just how spiritual an experience it was. The second time was in Atlantic City, which, well, if you know, you know. But this, here, today, nothing prepared me for this. To be 20 feet away from 2 humpback whales not only made me feel like Captain Kirk and crew at the end of Star Trek IV, but it made me feel connected to life in a way that I've seldom, if ever, felt before. Perhaps it's because we're Americans, and while we are blessed to live in a gorgeous country, this kind of beauty and closeness to nature is something we usually have to seek out elsewhere. And I can't tell you just how glad I am that I didn't give up, and I did listen to Jen, and I was able to have this time on this well-seasoned Wave Runner, spinning and cutting and hopping all over somewhat choppy waters, surrounded by the city and mountains reaching out and embracing me ever closer as the day went on. I'm one lucky son of a bitch.
¡Viva México! Okay, hold on to this.
I cut my own time short as I was confused as to when we had to get back to the ship, but my heart was satisfied.
See the whale out there? That was amazing.
We Ubered back to the port/duty-free mall where I got my magnets, and we boarded the ship where we'd celebrate Thanksgiving the next day. And I sure had a lot to be thankful for. Up on deck, the Diamond Trio serenaded Mexico, playing the thousands of overjoyed passengers off. as we sailed into the sunset. While getting these shots, I ruminated on the first time I visited Mexico. It was back in 2014 on another far less amazing cruise. And the one stop it made in Mexico was Cozumel. Though it was all too short, I loved my day there, especially since I got to walk through and shop in the local areas and see elements of the real city in Cozumel. I was worried that on this trip, I wouldn't get to experience any of the true communities. And in Cabo, that was indeed the case. Much of that having to do with the layout and limited window of time there. But in Mazatlan, while it was a full-day excursion, it felt super connected to the hardworking, blue-collar world the city is built on. And overall, Mazatlan was the best, most complete day of the 3 destinations, and I loved it. With that being said, recently I've thought of what life would be like were I to relocate to Mexico. If I were to do that, it would be here in Puerto Vallarta. I felt myself drawn to this city in a way that I hadn't felt in any of the other cities I visited in this beautiful country. Why Puerto Vallarta? Of course, the similarities in infrastructure plays a part, but it goes way beyond that. And much of it comes from the information I learned about this city when writing the script, the year-round festivals, the art throughout the city, the beauty of the culture, locales, and people both inside and out. Diversity is not only accepted, but embraced here. And not to mention the media place, Malecón. So much about Mexico is misunderstood in the States. It's not a perfect country, but no country is. From the people, to the kindness, to the women, to the food, art, the architecture, the women, nature, vibrant colors, music, the gatos, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the women. I found Mexico to be warm, welcoming, and rich with culture, life, and beauty. And women. While I'm not moving to Mexico anytime soon, I yearn to return to our southern neighbor, and in particular, Puerto Vallarta, where I can spend more than just a few hours here, and hopefully get to experience more of the culture evolved from indigenous, Spanish, international, and even pirate influences. And maybe next time I'll get to ride some horses on this beach. And until that time, I'm grateful for this experience, but more so that Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan, and Cabo San Lucas have reminded me that I'm not living on borrowed time. This is indeed my time. Just as it is yours. Thank you, Mexico. And Puerto Vallarta. Check. As always, I thank you for watching, and I hope that you get a kick out of these AI-generated reject thumbnails. And I ask if you got anything good out of this video, please give it a like, pay it forward by sharing the content with others, and most importantly, please subscribe to the channel. That helps out independent, small-time content creators such as myself more than words can say. Thank you again, and I'll see you all next week.